What I'm going to take you through now is outcomes from, I guess, a key part of our sire benchmarking program. And, this is outcomes from our net feed intake research, primarily collecting data on modern Angus net feed intake. So I'll take you through a range of areas. Basically, what I'm going to cover is define what net feed intake is to start with, so we're all on the same page. I'll then talk about what data we've collected in the sire benchmarking program primarily. And then we'll also talk about the Angus breed plate net feed intake EBVs, which have been relatively newly incorporated into our monthly feed analysis. They've been a trial EBV for quite a while, done on a research basis from time to time by geneticists and Agbu, but now they're in a monthly run, so we can get updated results very quickly. Ready for the data, of course. Before I go into that, though, I guess I don't have to tell any of you the importance of feed efficiency in a cattle operation, whether you're talking about cow herd grazing or steers grazing, being backgrounded, steers in the feedlot. Obviously, a major cost component is the feeding of those cattle. So if we can do anything to try and reduce the feed input costs without compromising production and quality of those animals, then it should be a good thing to the bottom line. And the good thing is we can start looking at this, particularly from a feedlot perspective, to try and look at it genetically and try and make some changes there to produce more feed efficient type animals. So what's net feed intake? Why do we use this trait as a measure of feed efficiency? Basically, net feed intake is a measurement of how much an animal actually eats compared to how much we expect it to eat, given its weight and rate of weight gain. Okay, so that's the measurement of net feed intake. That's why it's called net feed intake. It's also sometimes referred to as residual feed intake in some of the research papers, but we've termed net feed intake in this particular industry. Lower net NFI animals will be expected to eat less than what we expect, and therefore are determined to be more feed efficient. Okay, so that's the way you look at it. A lower NFI value would be more preferable, or lower net feed intake. A good thing about it, Angus have worked out that it's a monitoring heritable trait. So it's got a 0.35 heritability, if you know how to interpret that. It's sort of similar to our growth and carcass traits, but higher than some of our growth traits. So the good thing that means is we can actually use NFI measuring it, and we can produce information on bulls and select on those and improve net feed intake genetically. Where we measure the data at the moment, particularly through our sire benchmarking program, but other breeds can utilise this facility as well, is through Toowoomba Feedlot, owned by the University of New England, as already mentioned this morning. We use these grow safe devices. So how many of you been to Toowoomba to have a look? Unfortunately, we couldn't hold the open day there yesterday. But these are the units, and these are some of our benchmarking cattle on feed. So basically, this is one of our bigger pens. We've got these grow safe devices. I think there's 8 in this particular pen, and we have allows 10 animals per machine intake unit. Okay, so in that pen there's about 80 steers. And basically, every time an animal comes up, it puts its head through this little grate here, only one can go in at a time across the gate, and basically records the nice details, knows which animal it is, and measures how much the animal eats. Okay, so it's an accurate way of recording net feed intake. It's on an ad-lib basis, so these bunks always have feed in them, we don't let them run out, so it measures our true net feed basis. And that information then electronically feeds to the manager there, Cole. He uses it actually to monitor the health of the animals as well, so every day he gets a report on each pen, and you can see which animals might be slowing down off the tucker and which ones aren't. Really interesting report actually, because he showed me it's colour coded as well, so if an animal starts going off its feed, its little daily intake goes from green to yellow and to red, and you can make sure he goes have an early look at it before you might pick it up through pen riding or something like that. But that's the data that then feeds into, we get that data sent to Agbu, and they give us the data to go and do the analysis. So that's the facilities that are utilised. So basically, the calculation of net feed intake, just to summarise that, is we have the feed intake here. We need to take into account the maintenance and the weight gain, body weight and the growth rate to give us a net feed intake. So I guess what we don't want to do is you don't want to produce a feed efficiency measure if all it does is produce animals that aren't suitable from a production perspective. So we have to look at it around the weight gain basis. And that's all taken into account in their feed intake value. This is another way to look at it. This is actually some of our sire benchmarking data from cohort 1, only a few steers. So each of these dots are a steer, and the blue dots are from one pen, pen 14, and the red dots are from pen 15. Down here would be a predicted feed intake, how much we thought the animal should eat, given its weight and rate of weight gain. And this is how much the animal actually ate. If what we predicted was what the actual would be sitting on this line here, so a lot of the animals are on that line, but you can see there's some animals that are outside of that. So basically, you can see this one here, G149, we predicted it to actually to consume around 17 kilograms per day, based on its weight, whereas as you can see, if we go across here, its actual is about 15. So is that animal better feed efficiency or worse than we expected? It's better, it's even less than we expected. On the other end, you can see this guy here, G145, it ate about 2 kilograms a day more than we expected. We expected it to eat about 18 kilograms, but it actually ate closer to 20 kilograms a day. So that's where we get our net feed intake measurements from, expected versus actual. Right? So it's a measurement of that. And that information then, the net feed intake is what we utilise in our group analysis, in our reporting of our benchmark data through the reports I gave you this morning. So NFI collection through the Sire Benchmarking Program. All steers, the ones that make it swimmer, are fed through the net feed intake facilities, so we get net feed intake on those particular steers. To date, we've collected NFI data on about 890 steers from cohort 1 or 2 and 2. And we're obviously currently collecting all the NFI data on cohort 3, so another 600 steers will be available by the middle of this year. Then NFI data, once we get the whole cohort collected, then feeds into our pre-plan analysis, and we'll also utilise it to update our reports, our progeny averages. And I guess by the end of cohort 6, what we aim to do is have at least 240 bulls tested through this system across around 3,000 steers. Okay, so we're going to have a good data set for net feed intake. I would argue it's better than probably anyone has around the world, and particularly our competitors, competitive breeds and other things. So we'll be in a pretty good situation with this particular trait. Just out of interest, we also produce information like this that we're thinking about getting out further to the membership, and particularly the bull cooperators. This is one of the bulls from the first cohort that came up particularly well for net feed intake. One thing I'll mention is like indexes or individual EVs, you don't single trait select. For this particular trait, this bull did pretty well. So you can see here, there's a Millamara bull equity. This is the contemporary group the animal was compared to, and this is how his progeny performed up here. Okay, so you can see on average, the temporary average is minus 1.3 feed intake. His progeny average is minus 2.1. So his 13 progeny on average 8.8 kilograms less per day than the feed test station. So that's 0.8 kilograms a day. If you did the sums and add that up about feed costs, it probably adds up to a reasonable amount. Okay, so as you can see here, most of his progeny lie below this line if not on it, so that's where it indicates more feed efficient animals compared to the contemporary group, which I'll get into. As I've already shown this morning in our new reporting process for how the bulls are performing in the Sire Benchmarking Program, we include net feed intake, and we've got that currently listed for cohort 1 or 2. We've got 3, we'll include that and so on and so forth. So you can see here having progeny, the contemporary group average, the progeny average, the difference, and then we rank on the difference as such. This is actually for cohort 2, so that will show you one period of this is for cohort 1. So if you're interested in this trait, something you can start looking at from a Sire benchmarking perspective, how they're performed. Now on the breed plan, the net feed intake data is included in our breed plan analysis. Basically, if you look at our net feed intake NDV, we produce 2. Let's focus on one at the moment. It's called net feed intake F, or NFIF, which is net feed intake in the feedlot situation. So it's primarily focused towards that, because that's where we're collecting the data. And there's some genetic differences between animals in feed intake at a standard weight and rate of weight gain when animals are in the feedlot finishing phase. Expressed as kilograms of feed intake per day. Lower or more negative NFI EVs are more favourable, will give us more feed efficiency. We also produce a second NFI EV, which is not exactly the same trait. They're highly correlated, I should say, but they're not exactly the same trait, called NFIP, which is in a post-weaning, more growing animal. NFIF is more of a finishing animal, so laying down fat, whereas NFIP is more of an animal, a younger animal that's in a growing phase. traits, but they're still highly correlated on a genetic level. And as I've already said, it's included in our monthly Angus breedfeed analysis since about May last year, and it's also included in what we call the full multi-trait model. So all the genetic correlations and things are built into it with other traits where we know there's a relationship. Here's the genetic parameters, as we term them, that are built in for the NFI. So I've already said the heritability is 0.35, so it's a moderately heritable trait, so we can make progress on it pretty quick if you want to select on it. Which is good to know that because it takes a lot of effort to record data for NFI and there's a fair bit of cost to it, so if it wasn't heritable, you'd definitely question it, but it is. And here are the genetic correlations with some of the traits I had a look at and thought I'd pull out for interest. So, having a look through those, if you were going out there and just selecting an animal to improve net feed intake, net feed intake in a feedlot situation, and reducing NFI by selecting on the EBV, where would the other traits go if you weren't paying any attention to them? That's what this is saying. Hopefully you'll know how to read the correlation. Basically it would say, if you didn't take any attention to birth weight, you just reduced NFI genetically, where would birth weight go? So if you reduce birth weight, it's a negative correlation, so the other trait would go the other way. Birth weight would creep up, but the relationship's only 0.1, so there's not a strong relationship there. But if you didn't pay any attention to birth weight, then over time it would creep up. Okay, so that's one thing. And that's the same with the other growth traits, so 200-day weight, 400-day weight, 600-day weight, and carcass weight. So lower net feed intake, the other growth traits will go up, including birth weight. But the relation's not that strong, so you can find animals out there that break that curve. Okay, that's the video, which I'll show you in a second. Rib fat's an interesting one, our fats. So if we, again, reduced NFI without looking at the fats, where would our fats go? They'd go down. So we'd actually get leaner genetic animals as well. And that's one of our strongest correlations in this sense. So again, if you're selecting on NFI independently of everything else and we're looking at it, then if you selected more, better and better NFIF animals, you'd strip the fat out genetically as well over time. Is that a good or bad thing? It's up to your herd, but something you need to be aware of. And that's the same for IMF and the same for Armidale area. Scrotal size, if you decrease NFI, scrotal size will go the same way. Yes, the same way. Datus calving, and as I said, net feed intake in the post-weaning animal, highly correlated. Okay, so it's got a positive correlation there, but it's not exactly the same trait, so size of the rank could rank slightly differently for those traits. So you thought fair to know those. I guess the beauty of it, they're already built into our breed plan analysis, all those genetic correlations in the full multi-trait model, to take those into account for you. But interesting to know, I suggest. So what I've got here is I've just thought I'd have a look at our size. So this is across all our ASPP size. You can look at any animals because you'll find that a lot of animals have NFI now produced. Might be because they've been tested themselves or progeny, but they're related to animals that have been tested. So you can see over here we've got NFIP and NFIF. I'm sure that there's the accuracies in there because it'll show you that NFIF is probably higher accuracy because that's the trait we're generally recording, particularly through the sire benchmarking program. And these are just ranked on better NFIF down. So these are basically our top 10 animals or something like that for the sire across the sire benchmarking animals. So you can get that information if you like. I guess what this slide also highlights is the warnings about single trait selection. So if you went out there in a thermometer and you want to really go hard on NFIF and produce really feed efficient animals, you could go in all sorts of areas for other traits, couldn't you? I'll pick on a bull that's not from Australia, for obvious reasons. Look at this Lorabah Mighty Prince. He actually turned out to be a pretty good feed efficiency animal through the Tonga testing facility for the feedlot. But have a look at his other traits. Calving in his growth, carcass, those sorts of things. He's got some pretty scary other things going on with him. So I think the trick would be to definitely not single trait select on this. If you're going to look at NFIF, look at all the other EBVs, and hopefully I'm not telling you something you don't already know, of course. The other thing you don't have to be aware of is it's currently not building to our selection index, the NFI. So in regards to if it's a feedlot finishing type system, like I've got in heritage grain feed, we haven't built in the NFI genetic differences as of yet. But Andrew mentioned version 6 of Read Object in his talk, I think. I expect that in that model we'll be able to start looking at incorporating and identify genetic differences for a feedlot finishing system, which will be useful from that perspective and give us better balance. So hopefully you're aware of those EDVs. You've seen them being published for a while. I'm assuming if you're a breeder member, you've breed clean herb reports now, or am I wrong? They don't come up. They should be. So the information that's out there, and I think you'll find as we get more information in from our site benchmarking program, it flows through into relationship with other animals. We'll get more animal reporting, that's for sure. And because we know the gene correlations, that builds into the accuracies as well. So, very short presentation, so we can probably break early for lunch. So what's next for net feed intake testing? Collect more phenotypes. As I said, modern Angus in our site benchmarking, we've got about nearly 900 records, but we need lots more. And we'll be doing that through the site benchmarking program. And hopefully that'll assist us find, to use much of the word, curve-bending genetics for animals that are good for net feed efficiency, but also good for a range and all those other things you need to select on. I think it would also be good if we have some discussion, particularly with the feed industry, about what's this worth to them, and how we can get some dialogue in that area. We need to also incorporate these selection indexes, and I think the big area we need more discussion on is how we can get a picture of net feed intake in the grazing cow herd situation. At the moment, what we're collecting is very relevant to the feedlot program. But I know from my situation, the cow herds where a huge cost is feeding those things. So how do we get a better picture of feed efficiency in the cow herd situation? If anyone's got any great ideas, let me know. That's why I've got a question mark next to it. All right, so that's feed efficiency, and I assume we've got a lot of time for questions.